Tonight, Volta floods leaves 22,000 pupils without access to education, with more than 1,000 teachers displaced. We are live tonight on the ground, where the biggest teacher union has been demanding action from government.
In the Volta region, 8 districts have been affected. Within these 8 districts, 150 schools have been directly or indirectly affected. And so that's the figure we are working on as of this time.
Plus, Sanitation Minister Frida Prempeh under intense pressure to retract and apologize for these comments or face the wrath of the main opposition, NDC.
They refused to leave. They didn't want to be evacuated. They stayed there till the end when we started spilling. Unfortunately, look at what is happening. And government has to spend millions of money on relief items, on education. The whole area, the water is contaminated. And what Ghana Water and Water Resources Commission will have to spend money, millions of money to treat the water.
This is Top Story with Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The full impact on education of the devastating floods that has swept through the Volta and other regions along the Volta River is tonight beginning to emerge. Joy News has been hearing from the Volta Regional Directorate of the Ghana Education Service. More than 22,000 pupils have been left without access to education, with over 1,000 teachers also displaced. The biggest teacher union, NAT, has today also been criticizing government intervention to deal with the education crisis triggered by the floods. More from NAT shortly, but first listen to the Volta Regional Director of Education, Francis Yao Agbemadi.
In the Volta region, 8 districts have been affected. Within these 8 districts, 150 schools have been directly or indirectly affected. And in terms of the number of pupils, we have about 32,379 pupils who have been directly or indirectly affected. When we look at the number of teachers who have been directly or indirectly affected, we have 1,288. And so that's the figure we are working on as at this time.
Well, it's been a number of weeks now. I'm wondering, this over 22,000 pupils, what's happening to them? Are we providing lessons? What exactly has education come to a standstill altogether in the communities?
We have a short-term and long-term solution to the problem. As a short-term measure, those schools that have been completely submerged and the children are no longer accessing teaching and teaching, we have arranged for those schools to run shifts with their counterparts in the nearby schools. For instance, in Sogakope, we have 2 schools submerged. Sogakope RC Basic School and Sogakope St. Kunebeto RC Basic School. And we have arranged for the RC Basic School to run shift with Sogakope Presby Basic School, while Kunebeto Basic School runs shift with Agopo DA Basic School. We want to replicate the same system in Emefa and Bato area. In addition to that, there are.
Do you know exactly when that will be replicated? Because it appears that you are now planning to.
No, we have informed the district director, and very soon, by next Monday, I think they will start. Then, besides that, some of the communities who have also been submerged are seeking shelter with families and friends.
Okay.
And so those children who are seeking shelter with families and friends in neighboring towns, they are being, or we have directed, the district directed to ensure that those children join lessons in those nearby towns.
I want to bring in my colleague Carlos Caloni. He's been on the ground assessing this particular situation for us tonight. Carlos, have you been to some of these schools? What is the actual situation? Describe for us what you see.
All right, Evans, I've been to a number of these schools from the North Tongo area to the South Tongo through to the Central Tongo area. In North Tongo, for instance, the RC Basic School is being used as a safe haven, which means that students cannot have classes at a particular school. And in South Tongo communities, there are other schools also there that cannot be used for teaching and learning. The fact is that some of these kids would have to cross the lake to school in other communities, but with the current level of the lake, they are unable to do that. This afternoon, I spoke with a 16-year-old girl who told me for the past 2 weeks she has not been to school. And so it's a serious situation. If you go into the communities, you find these kids loitering about, Evans.
And have you seen any intervention to try and deal with this problem?
Well, you know, Evans, we told the story of a 20-year-old girl in Emefa at the St. Kizito that actually was using her time there to teach these kids. This morning, she told me actually that some books have been provided, and also about 20 of other teachers have been recruited to join her in that effort at that particular school. So yes, some effort is being made, but across these affected areas, I can tell you for a fact that the problem is huge, and something needs to be done.
And let's get a sense of this. Let's bring in Reverend Dr. Isaac Owusu. He's the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Dr. Owusu, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thanks for having me, Evans.
Talk to me. What are your members on the ground there telling you about the impact of the floods on education and the pupils they regularly would teach?
Well, Evans, thank you very much for the opportunity. And let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers. First of all, let me commensurate with the people of North Tongue and Central Tongue and Karachi East and Karachi West, most especially our teachers. Yesterday, the leadership of NAT, led by myself and General Secretary, we were in the MEPE to see things for ourselves. And Evans, I can tell you that what we saw yesterday, the situation is very bad. Teachers have lost all their belongings. We met a head teacher who couldn't take even one item from his house. And this head teacher is now sleeping in his school office. And in that small room, he told us about 18 people are using the head teacher's office. 18. So the situation is bad such that if we don't act fast, it is going to affect the people in the long way round. Yesterday, we went in to support the teachers with the 150,000 Ghana cedis. Luckily for us, we got the notice that the Minister for Education and his deputy and some entourage were in town. So they had the opportunity to meet the teachers themselves. They also went round, were told they went round to see things for themselves. And so we are calling on the ministry together with GES to, with immediate effect, put in place measures that can help their teaching and learning within these affected areas.
In other words, from what you're seeing on the ground, the teachers are unable to teach, the kids are unable to go to the classrooms, and so they've been left in the last 2 weeks at least without education. Exactly.
It is only at St. Kizito where we met a secondary school leaver, a 19 or 20-year-old girl who has volunteered to engage these young children. But for us, we feel that that is not the appropriate measures. So we believe that once yesterday the minister himself and his entourage Of course, we know that all the directors in Ghana are currently in Upper West for their COOP conference. And so we are trusting and believing that coming Monday next week, we should see some proactive measures being put in place by the duty bearers to enable academic work to continue.
I mean, Dr. Usu, the floods, we've been reporting these floods at least now. We are in the third week now since this became a big issue of national concern. You're saying to me, from what you're hearing from your members and what you saw, that we still do not have a coordinated program intervention to bring education to those who are currently affected, who don't have access to that. I mean, because of course we know their colleagues across the country may now be gaining advantage, and education is a challenge, even already without floods. You're saying that after all these weeks, we still don't have that?
So far as we are concerned, yesterday when we went there wasn't any plan or measures put in place. That's why.
Hello, Dr. Usu. Hello, Dr. Usu.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Yes. I was saying that so far as we are concerned, yesterday when we got there wasn't any measure put in place by either GES or the Ministry of Education. Of course, it was only yesterday that they themselves went to the site to see things for themselves.
Please stay with me. I mean, let's get some answers. Let me bring in the spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng. Mr. Kwarteng, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Yeah, Evans, thank you, and a very good evening to you and your listeners.
Great to have you. What do you say to the NAT president recounting what they witnessed on the ground? That it's been at least 2 weeks, and they still haven't seen the coordinated effort to deal with the education crisis triggered by the spillage.
Evans, I mean, I will take it from a different angle, because it appears like, I mean, sometimes when there are challenges like this, instead of having a holistic conversations about it dispassionately and resolving it, I mean, sometimes you may be interested in asking leading questions that provide some answers to indict and blame, and you have the Ministry of Education countering and counter also from NAT, and I'm sure the media enjoys it. That's not why I will come from. Because in the first place, if there is no any coordinated attempt, you just play the voice of the original director of GS, where he spoke about even the fact that they have been able to gather data, the fact that they are also tracking some students who are living even within the communities. Even spoke of some safe havens, and the fact that there are even some schools that they are even running safe systems. Of course, we need to, augment the efforts by all stakeholders, being VRA, being NADMO, being the Ghana Education Service or the Ministry of Education. But to suggest that there has not been any coordinated effort, I don't think it's helpful at this point.
Has there been a coordinated effort at the highest level, say from your end, that trickles down to these communities? And specifically, what is it?
That's what I'm saying, that if there has not been any coordinated efforts, in the first place, the data that you had, which obviously is to inform decision making, wouldn't have even been provided in the first place. Again, yesterday, the Minister for Education himself, of course, with his entourage and the entire Parliamentary Select Committee on Education, together with the regional, political leadership and all the stakeholders, visited the place. Yesterday, during our visit, if you look at the component or the people that the minister moved with, we moved with the FPMU, which is the Funds Procurement Unit of the Ministry of Education. We moved with leadership of the Ghana Education Service, leadership from the Free SHS Secretariat, GTEC, Get Fund, NASIA, NACA, and all other relevant stakeholders under the Ministry of Education. What do you think was the purpose of that? Obviously, to assess the situation themselves and provide solutions based on what the intervention the various agencies of the Ministry of Education can provide. Indeed, it is not even the Ministry of Education alone that at the end of the day will have to resolve all these matters. Obviously, we may have to collaborate with other institutions. I am not a disaster expert, but Evans, you agree with me that when a disaster or such an unforeseen contingent like this strikes, our first and basic aim is to save lives and maybe properties. It is after that we may be looking at, getting, for instance, alternative ways of education for our students. So for me, I think it's more about what we're able to gather, the information that we're able to gather, and the fact that it's going to inform decision making, and the fact that even yesterday when the minister went there, there were some interventions that we provided.
Yeah, and Mr. Kwarteng, you use the word assess, and to be assessing this problem now, the concern is it's coming a bit late in the day when people needed it right at the beginning of this crisis.
It still takes us to, the strenuous effort or the attempt to also make it like the usual PR and media discussions that we have, where we generate the buzz. We don't really solve the problem. At the end of the day, we generate the trends and the media get excited. I won't throw on that line. Because for me, when we went to Mepe, Mepe, and we went to Bato, we saw displaced students. We saw displaced communities. We saw a whole lot of communities that were displaced, and at the end of the day, have to convert classroom blocks to accommodation facilities. I recall the Minister for Education, for instance, directing that as a matter of immediate intervention, even before we get to Accra, GRA should look at, building pavilions, and the Ministry of Education also providing learners and resource materials to be able to resolve the situation. So it is not as though we have to come from an angle of blame game before we solve the problem. Yes, there was a disaster. Yes, there was an unforeseen contingent. We had NADMO there. We had VRO there. We have the environmental protection. Of course, even in terms of decision making, the Ministry of Education alone cannot just override any other person and say that I'm going to get all my students to school. The solution to this is not an event. It's a process. The more reason why when you spoke to the regional education director, he outlined measures that they've undertaken. And the fact that they are still taking some running shift systems, we provide them learning materials and what have you.
Yeah, Dr. Wusu, from NAT's point of view, what do you want to see? What interventions do you want to see on the ground?
Evans, better late than never. Once the ministry has been able to visit the sites and they've seen things for themselves, all that we want is the solution. And we believe that at least from next week, we should be able to see measures put in place to bring back academic work. That is all that we are calling for.
And Mr. Kwarteng, what assurances can you give as far as that?
Yeah, obviously, it is the more reason why the Minister for Education went there. But, Evans, I pray you are able to get to the place and assess the impact for yourself. For instance, you see a community school that has been taken over by these displaced victims. Are you just necessarily going to say that you are going to get them? Obviously, you have to look at alternative solutions.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking.
For Education was talking about pavilions. Yes, those displaced students, those affected students, we went there, assessed the impact, and we are going to provide solutions to them.
Okay,
but of course,
do you have an idea yet?
Collaborative efforts of everyone, including even the media. We need NAT on board. We need everybody on board. And the assurance we are giving Ghanaians is that just like we've already started resolving most of the challenges there with regards to the shift systems. Yesterday when we went there, we provided about 450 bags of rice. As a very immediate response to their immediate needs. We provided some learning materials. A lot is also going to go. Even before and even after the water receipts. We are still working to make sure that FPMU and other relevant agencies takes over.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Mr. Kwarteng there. He speaks for the Education Ministry. I want to bring in Samuel Okudita Blakwa, whose constituency is one of the worst hit. Joins us on the line right now. Mr. Blakwa, thanks for your time here on Top Story. One of the things we haven't explored as much is the impact on education. We've just been getting a picture of this. The ministry says, well, they are now done the assessment. They are going to be rolling out interventions. What's the situation with education in your constituency?
Well, good evening, Evans. The 21 camps in my constituency all camps in schools. So as long as these displaced persons have to seek refuge in schools, education will be affected. And that's why I have been emphasizing that the continuous use of schools as camps is the fundamental issue. We have to address that fundamental issue, because as long as these schools are being used as camps, the schools cannot be free for children to return and for academic work to resume. So what is the arrangement? And I think that this matter goes beyond just the education ministry. The president, the central government, will have to provide an immediate resettlement plan. My people will have to be relocated. And that's why when the president came here and met the chiefs in their welcome address pleaded with the president that our constituency is not too far from Saglemi, a 30 minutes drive. Saglemi housing is wasting away. I mean, government can have all of these issues, all of these concerns. I mean, people are being prosecuted. They should go ahead and do that. We are not going to interfere with whoever they think has questions to answer about that project. But does it make sense that Saglemi, just a few miles away from my constituency, is wasting away and people are in inhumane condition? The Ghana Medical Association has warned that people are now presenting with respiratory diseases because of the congestion, because they are cramped. Then the insanitary conditions, typhoid, cholera. So classrooms are not meant for residential use. We all know that. So why don't we relocate these thousands of people, over 12,000 people displaced, into some of these housing projects that are lying fallow, so that we can quickly fumigate, quickly prepare these schools again for academic work to resume. So we like to, as a country, sometimes make simple things complex. We know what to do. I mean, now they are talking about shift system, they are talking about classes. I have had to, as an interim measure, bring in university students and teachers who wish to volunteer, and we are doing, classes in the camps. But it's just interim. I mean, you can't really guarantee the quality. It's just to hold the fort. Let's remember that across the country, the academic calendar is in force. These children are going to be writing the same exams with their peers across the country, the same BEC, the same WASI. So I expect the central government to quickly address the issue of resettlement. As long as we are using these schools as camps, education will remain a challenge. The solution is not distributing TLMs or talking about some shift system. Even the health of the children in some of there are few of the schools that they are using half of the school for a displaced camp, and then the other half for the resumption of academic work, and they're asking them to run a shift system which we abolished many years ago. But there are health implications. I mean, the GMA has warned that because of the numbers, the lack of sanitary facilities and all of that, why do we want to, compel children to return to school under these conditions?
I mean, thankfully.
So I think that there's a fundamental solution government is refusing to confront. And that solution is resettle the people.
Yeah, and thankfully, the Volta Regional Minister joins us now. And Dr. Archibald Letcher, thanks for your time here on Top Story. It's been quite some time now since the flood started. What's the resettlement plan?
Hello, thank you, Vance. I think the plans are being discussed and developed, but for now, we are very thankful to God that the water levels have begun reducing. But for the meantime, we have the safe havens that we are keeping the displaced people. Many of them are also with their families. Some have been sent to nearby towns and so on. But the resettlement plan is being discussed, and very soon it will be unfolded.
So there will be resettlement.
Yes, yesterday we were with Honorable Kuja to Ablakwa, where we discussed with the education minister. They need to provide facilities for kids to go back to school because some of their facilities are occupied by displaced people. Some of the facilities are being used as safe havens. But the children must go to school. So the education minister with his team were with us the whole of yesterday, and they returned to Accra in the evening. And I'm sure that today they are drawing the plans that will help us make sure that the kids go back to school as soon as possible.
What about the suggestion to use the Saglami Housing Project as a temporary holding base for those currently displaced who are being kept in classrooms and other places?
Yes, as far as I am concerned, I don't know the condition of that place, and I don't know whether it's a feasible suggestion. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's only one way to know for sure, right? To look into it. Is that even being considered?
I think, as far as I am concerned, the people must be resettled as close to their original places of habitation. That is my humble opinion.
So, as you speak right now, as the chairman of the Regional Security Council, the president's chief representative there, it's not on the table for now for Saglami.
Hello, it's
not on the table for now to consider Saglami as part of the resettlement plan. Or a temporary
I think it's in Greater Accra region. It's a national asset, and those responsible would take the decision at the appropriate time. But for me, as far as the Volta Regional Security Council is concerned, or the Volta Regional Disaster Management Committee is concerned, we want the people settled very close to where they live.
And Mr. Okudita-Blakwa, today I've seen that the Volta Regional NDC have issued a strongly worded statement demanding a retraction and apology for these pronouncements made by the sanitation minister.
There are caused of more spillage. Even though VRA, NADMO, the Water Resources Commission came together to educate the people in the community, did simulation exercises with them even at Lepe. Yet they refused to leave. They didn't want to be evacuated. They stayed there till the end when we started spilling. Unfortunately, look at what is happening. And government has to spend millions of money on relief items, on education. The whole area, the water is contaminated. And what Ghana Water and Water Resources Commission would have to spend money, millions of money to treat the water.
Mr. Okudita-Blakwa, do you support that call that we've seen in the statement issued today by the NDC?
Absolutely. The minister does not have to wait for pressure to pile to retract and apologize, because all of what she said are blatant falsehoods. No team came here to evacuate anybody, and the people refused to go. A while ago, we have just been discussing with the regional minister a resettlement plan. If there was one, if they had places they had constructed for our people to be resettled or to be evacuated to, we will not be having this discussion now, Evans.
But
those places will have been ready. So it is not true that there was an attempt to evacuate people and they refused to go.
But the VRA said people were sensitized. Yeah, people were sensitized and they were asked to move to higher ground. And in essence, that call wasn't heeded by people who were in areas that could be affected.
Again, that is not true. Look, this penchant by public officials to blame victims, to blame people whose lives they have destroyed, people whose properties they have damaged, people who they have ruined by their own abysmal performance. Look, VRA has serious questions to answer. The dam doesn't get full overnight, in a second, and they should have taken steps. We have been asking what steps they took, how and why did they wait to the last hour? This spilling could have been done gradually, long ago, and there should have been ample notice. The fact that they did sensitization in May, a simulation on the 11th of May, which included the military, the police, NADMO, and all of them, the people were told that if the D-Day comes, this is what will happen. The D-Day came, and all of those components were missing. I mean, the military, the police, NADMO, fire service, ambulance service came days after. My people had to, save themselves. The youth I always salute them. They had to, whisk the aged, the vulnerable out of harm's way. So, look, this has been a disaster. Here we are discussing why classrooms have been taken over as safe havens and there is no academic work going on and all of that. Government has been caught, off guard. Government was not prepared for this, and in the process, so many people's lives have been destroyed. Government must carry out an honest introspection and should stop blaming the victims. Look, the people are down and out. You have messed them up. You've left them devastated. Why are you still kicking them with callous lies, with gross insensitivity, and just inhumane statements? So look, the sanitation minister must sanitize her thoughts. She also adds that we ask them to move, as if the people are squatters. Let me be clear to you, Evans. The people here, my constituents, and all the affected areas have been living in these communities for decades, centuries, before the Akosobo Dam was constructed, before the Pond Dam was constructed. They are not squatters. The minister talks as if these are some squatters who just arrived on the scene and are becoming a nuisance. I mean, she ought to sanitize her thoughts. They are not squatters. We have been landowners. We've been living here for many decades, and I think that it also reflects a certain ignorance about the history of our country, about the people of our country, and the earlier she retracts and apologizes, the better. Because the
let me get the Volta Regional Minister into this conversation, and Dr. Archibald Letta, the demand for retraction and apology, fair? Hello. Yes, the demand for retraction and apology, fair?
Oh no, I haven't actually heard what the minister said, but I know that there was a lot of sensitization, and even when we were evacuating people, we had to think about compulsory evacuation, but we didn't want to do that. So we were actually vigilant in the various communities, monitoring the water levels with assistance of the Navy, and whenever the people realized that their lives were in danger, they immediately complied and got into the boats. The women and the children were evacuated quite early, but many of them stayed back to protect their properties, and until they realized that their lives were in danger, some were not willing to get into the boats, but we had time, we had patience for them, and at least we are proud to say that not a single person got drowned. We are grateful to all those who helped.
So you're as the chairman of the Regional Security Council, corroborating the point that some of the residents affected simply refused to move.
Hello, sorry, Ivan.
I'm just clarifying, as a chair of the Regional Security Council, you're corroborating the point that some of the residents affected simply refused to move.
No, sorry. I think the network is the line is breaking, so maybe I have to reposition myself.
Yes,
I can hear the question well.
I'm clarifying with you because you're the chair of the Security Council, and you would have been in the know and briefed regularly that some of the people affected simply refused to move.
Oh, we had discussions, we had meetings, and we there was a certain night that we were meeting in the Central Town District Assembly where it was suggested that we should go and compulsorily evacuate, but we decided against it.
But that from what I heard,
in the community.
Yeah, but that from what I heard happened after the floods. That attempt to forcibly remove people happened after the floods, not before it.
No, we did. No. What happened was that even when the spirit began on 15th of September, we didn't have much flooding until the level, the volume of water spilled was increased as a result of the rising levels of the reservoir, and then we were faced with this massive flooding. But I must say that the disaster management teams were available. And we managed to evacuate everybody to safety with the support of the communities, of course, the assemblymen, and the various stakeholders in the communities. But the army helped us a lot, NADMO officials, they helped us a lot. So far, we are happy that we haven't lost any life. But we appreciate that people have been inconvenienced, people's livelihoods have been affected. But we're thinking about and considering all those challenges and how to overcome them.
Thank you, the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecture. There he had earlier Samuel Kudita Blakwa, who is MP for Mepe. Are you in the areas affected? We are focusing tonight on the impact on education. You've heard the Education Ministry talk to us about the intervention, it says, will be rolled out following the Education Minister's visit to the affected areas. We'll also be dealing with the health impact. 05511119997 still ahead here on News Night.
Help with them, and they keep shifting their goalposts.
For clarity, is the funeral coming on as planned or not?
Yes, as long as we have not been served with anything.
Tonight, GA Traditional Council to go ahead with the funeral plans of the late Manye Na Dede Omaedro III, despite an action seeking to restrain them from organizing funeral or touching the mortal remains of the late Queen Mother. The family contends that they have been marginalized and disregarded.
They were not informed, they were not allowed, but they were kicked out completely. An injunction restraining the funeral committee from organizing, from touching the body, from doing anything or dealing with the body until the determination of the matter pending before the court.
We're here from the Traditional Council, which insists there's no curfew in place today and tomorrow. Also tonight, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono refuses to grant the special prosecutor's request to remove the judge handling the Cecilia Dapar case, even though the OSP cites bias and unfairness. We have details shortly. Also tonight's majority in Parliament rise to the defense of NIB management, describing the minority as engaging in reckless propaganda to discredit the bank.
They have to show more of patriotism when it comes to matters of this nature. I will not sit down and allow people who so-called finance people who think that they know more than anybody, and yet they'll come out and churn out malicious lies just to score political points. It's most unfortunate.
We have more as they describe allegations that government's plans to sell off NIB and ADB to cronies as malicious falsehood.
And I don't think the government has come to that position of a sell-off yet. So treat it with the contempt it deserves, and just throw it overboard. I'm sure Adongo was in one of his moods and he got it all wrong.
But does the majority chief whip support any move to merge ADB and NIB or privatize the NIB? We have details of that.
In business, IMF insists Ghana is not out of the woods yet, despite the economy showing signs of stability.
And we also have sports much later, and also IGP has been defending decision to prevent Democracy Hub from occupying the Jubilee House, explaining that the 2014 Occupy Flagstaff House protest was just symbolic and not an attempt to invade the seat of government.
2014, nobody occupied the Jubilee House. It was in name. And some of them made an attempt to run to the Jubilee House, and they were stopped.
And then much later, Multimedia Group nominated in 8 categories in this year's GJ Awards. Details as the association prepares to award journalists for their sterling performance in the year under review this Sunday. You want to stay with us for details of that and more here on Newsnight Live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, affiliate across Ghana's 16 regions, also on Love 99.5 FM. You can join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp 055-11-11997. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Evans Mensah. Details after this.
Ajwa, the online page for the new business account was in shambles yesterday. We lost the page.
Tell me about it.
We started off very confident, and then the office broadband went down. When we set up the hotspot from the phone to reconnect, the data allocation also got finished.
You are joking.
I wish. The meeting room was hot. Kobe quickly tried calling them to give us some more time, but he had no airtime. Total chaos. They also gave us feedback that our website didn't have enough information. How can you run a business this way and hope to grow?
Oh dear.
Your business communication can be way better than this. Vodafone One Business is a complete communications package that gives you broadband with data transfer to mobile phones, mobile package with free calls among employees, landline with free calls and website design plus domain name registration. At Vodafone Business, we understand that strong connections within your business lead to success. Call 050-777-9000 or sign up by sending an email to sme@vodafone.com. Vodafone, further together.
Ready? Let's go. We all go bring some savannah.
Everyone is dancing, everyone is singing, because everyone is painting with Savannah. Savannah paints from Azar are affordable enough for everybody to fulfill their paint needs. Paint more, pay less. Savannah paint, we all go paint some.
We all go paint some Savannah. We all go paint some.
Hi, I'm Kweku. I make business pitches by day and play on soccer pitches by night. I give both roles my all because I am more than just one thing. What about you?
We know you are not just about business. You also have other interests. That's why we are the bank that supports the many sides of you. Join ABSA to get every kind of business solution for every kind of you. Visit the nearest ABSA branch or absa.com.gh for more information.
Go for gold and bet risk-free on the new season with Betway. Use the golden booking code found on the Betway site to bet on selected match week and get 100% back as a free bet on any losses. You always get more with Betway. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way more.
Thanks for staying with us here on Newsnight. We get into our very first story for tonight, and the Ga Traditional Council says plans for the final funeral rites of the late Queen Mother Manye Nadede Omaedro III will proceed full throttle, even as the family of the Queen has secured an ex parte interlocutory injunction against them. Well, the family earlier today pleaded with a court to restrain the Ga Traditional Council and the Planning Committee from handling, organizing and touching the body or the remains of the late Queen Mother on grounds that they have been marginalized and disregarded. Well, my colleague Michael Ashali joins me in studio with details of that injunction that we've now seen. Let's talk about what exactly the family is seeking.
Well, so just to put across that this was signed by Justice Patrick Baye, and is the one who affirmed the interlocutory injunction against the party. Essentially, they have been ordered that the defendants or respondents of the funeral committee, chaired by Ni Otinto II, all members of the committee, their previous workmen, assigns, and all persons through them are restrained from handling, organizing, touching, performing, or dealing with the remains of the late Queen Mother, Nadede Omaedro III, in any manner for a period of 10 days.
Okay, well, you've been speaking to the family. What's the rationale behind this? What exactly is leading to this?
So, Emefa, straight to the point, they feel that they have been let out in the whole process. And then again, some promises have been made to them in the past and that have not been fulfilled yet. So they want to put an injunction on this. Let's have all of those rituals and those promises fulfilled, then we can go ahead.
They believe that the late Queen Mother hailed from their family, and that if there is any funeral that is to be carried out or performed, the family has a role to play when it comes to customary rights and other very important issues. It is the family that will perform them. Having been notified about the death of the planning, the organization, all these things were being done, the family were left out. They were not involved. They only heard that a particular date had been scheduled for the funeral to take place, but they were kicked out completely. So they decided to go to court and injunction, restraining the funeral committee from organizing, from touching the body, from doing anything or dealing with the body until the determination of the matter pending before the court.
What are the reliefs that the family, substantively, what are they asking for?
They are asking for a declaration that she is first and foremost a member of both the paternal and maternal families and not a member of that committee or that association called the Traditional Council. And so that declaration should first be made. And secondly, that any decision leading up to her burial should be taken by the family or in conjunction with the Traditional Council. And so they cannot be made strangers when it comes to matters relating to the late Queen Mother.
And Emefa, we've also been speaking to the organizers of the funeral, the Chief Protocol and Communications Officer, the Office of the Gamanche, Parker Alote, says the funeral will proceed as planned. They are aware of this, but they haven't been served.
We haven't seen any interlocutory injunction as yet. We are yet to be served. So one cannot comment on what we have not seen.
Okay, but do you know the people behind this? They claim to be family of the late Queen Mother.
Well, I haven't seen the injunction, so I don't know who are the partners, but we have three sides of a family. The nuclear family, which is made up of the children and the parents. Then you have the father's side, then you have the mother's side. And I'm saying that in matters like this, like the funeral, I don't see how children can claim to have power, don't have, particularly when you are dealing with the royal.
The claims they make is they have been sidelined and that some of the rituals that has been made has not been done, at least on the family side.
They have pulled out by themselves. Nobody has sidelined them. They cannot.
Well, we're also learning tonight from him that in the past they've made attempts to reach out to this side of the family to try and resolve the issues, but it hasn't yielded much fruits.
Definitely, we have an idea of where the group of people who are likely to do a thing like that.
But this is not the first time they are saying this. Have you tried to mediate, talk to them in any way?
Several meetings have been held with them, and they keep shifting their goalposts.
For clarity, is the funeral coming on as planned or not?
Yes, as long as we have not been served with any injunction.
So it is going ahead from the organizers of the funeral, and we know that some businesses, especially those situated in the heart of the Gamashi, are taking steps to ensure that they comply with the wishes of the Gas state. A few of them have put out statements, including what will happen to schools around this time.
So we've seen at least a message from Stanbic Bank, for instance, communicating to their clients. We joined the Gas state in morning. Nadi Domaido. In view of this, our Accra Main, Tudu Makola Ring Road, Mervyn Peak, North Industrial Area, Dansuman, and West Hill Mall branches will be closing at 4 p.m. this week. But you know that earlier, schools communicated to parents and guardians that from tomorrow, Thursday, 26th, and Friday 27th October 2023, pupils will not be going to school. But there's been another communication from the schools. We've been hearing from GES also mentioning that now children can go to school. And when we heard from the Traditional Council insisting that it's only movements that will be restrained on Saturday and not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as earlier communicated. So we've seen a statement, for instance, a communication from a school. One school says, I hope all is well. Okay, it says the amendment to the earlier information passed the general public on the funeral rites for the late Queen Mother has been overturned. So it means that schools will go to, pupils will go to school on Thursday 26th and Friday 27th rather than earlier communicated. So they are asking that parents ignore any information on closure of schools.
Okay,
At least that's the communication we are getting.
For mothers like yourself.
Exactly.
Because you live in the Gamashi area proper.
Yeah.
And of course, your children. So you made plans for this?
I made plans that they were not going to go to school.
Already? Even before you got the notice from the school?
Yes. Now that I'm getting this notification from the school, it looks like I have to make alternative arrangements. They have to go to school Thursday and Friday. It's Saturday that movements have been restricted, so no Saturday classes as earlier planned.
You're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu, has declined the petition of the Special Prosecutor, Kise Jabin, to have the judge handling the case involving former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Benadapa recuse himself. Now, the Special Prosecutor petitioned the Chief Justice, citing bias and unfairness if the Judge, Justice Edward Chum, is made to continue with the cases involving the OSP and the Special Prosecutor himself. Now, the court had to adjourn the case twice after the petition to the CJ, but in a tweet, the OSP announced that the CJ had declined its petition. So what are the implications of this, considering that it appears that the relationship now between the OSP and the judge is strained? I want to bring in my colleague, Rachel Kodonyako, who joins us in the studio. Was the Chief Justice's decision on the petition revealed in court today?
No, Evans. The response to the petition was not in court. The case was not even called at all. The OSP wasn't even present in court. But Madam Cecilia Dapa, her husband, and her lawyers were all in court hoping that a response would have been heard from the CJ by that time. But the Chief Justice at the time we were in court had not responded. In fact, the lawyers went into the chambers of the judge, and it was revealed that the CJ is yet to give a response to the petition filed by the OSP, and so they need to wait a little while longer. So as expected, disappointment was boldly written on their faces as they walked out of the precinct of the court. But just a few minutes after midday, the OSP tweeted that the Chief Justice had refused his petition, and I quote, by a letter dated 25th October 2023, the Judicial Secretary informed the Special Prosecutor that the Chief Justice is unable to accede to the office of the Special Prosecutor's request for His Lordship Justice Ejoachum to be recused and removed from all cases involving the OSP pending before him.
So when are we back in court?
We are back in court on the 8th of November, where it is expected that the two parties will be present, and one key issue that is on the table is the application for the confirmation of the freezing of the bank account and the seizure of the property of Madam Cecilia Dapa.
Okay, so what would this really mean for the trial going forward? Lawyer Bobby Banson joins us on the line right now. Mr. Banson, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. The OSP will still have to appear before the same judge. The judge is complained about. He wanted this judge removed. Will that have any implications for the case itself?
Good evening, Evans. Good evening to your listeners. Normally, it should not, because judges, lawyers may disagree on the manner in which a certain legal proposition is spelled out, but it's not personal. And so I believe the OSP's petition to the Chief Justice may not be a personal thing he has against the judge, and I expect the judge to continue to discharge his obligations very professionally. These things happen in the course of our work, and so I don't think it would in any way influence the outcome or the rulings by the judge. The judge's ruling will be, or justice is dispensed in accordance with case law, statute, and well-defined practice, and I believe the judge will do just that.
You know, this case, yes, it has to be decided in the court of competent jurisdiction, but there's also a huge chunk of this, which is also court of public opinion. Yes, it shouldn't affect what happens in court, but we know it's not as straightforward as that. Now that this is out there, OSP complains about the judge, a certain perception that begins to form in the minds of people that he's going to sit on this case already. There's a certain poison environment in which this is now going to play out.
Well, we cannot take the human element out of it. But like I said, judges, lawyers are professionals. And so even though the emotional aspect, there's a temptation there, it cannot feature or influence the decision. Remember, if a high court judge gives a decision, it may go in favor of the OSP or it may go in favor of Madam Cecilia Dapa. Either party has a right to appeal against it to the appellate court. So if your decision is not grounded on law, the probability of it being overturned on appeal is high. And a judge would not want his judgment to be overturned on appeal on the basis that he didn't ground, or he grounded it in other matters apart from law.
Mr. Banson, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Well, let's turn our attention to some other stories now. And the NPP majority in Parliament this evening tearing into what they describe as the propaganda by their NDC colleagues against the National Investment Bank, that's the NIB. The minority at a news conference, you recall, a few weeks ago, took on top management of the NIB, whom they accused of being incompetent. But their colleagues in the majority are pushing back. First, listen to minority spokesperson on finance, Isaac Adongo, at their news conference.
Unless there's an ulterior motive, they should come. The minority will give them a group of people to go there and work for free. With a clear mandate, no interference, and NIB will be the most viable bank, the most well-capitalized bank, and the most liquid bank in Ghana. It is clear that this is not about the interest of NIB. This is the last step towards passing through the back door to acquire NIB and ADB for themselves.
But responding at the Arrow News Conference today, Majority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre described the conduct and allegations of their colleagues as unpatriotic and meant to run down the bank.
These allegations, especially, I'll caution you when we are going next year, we are going into elections. I'm sure there is going to be a lot of such malicious lies being put out. I am not aware As a government, maybe there's going to be any sell-off. To use your own words, there's going to be any sell-off. I sure would have had that privileged information. There is nothing like that as we speak. If they have evidence that there's going to be a sell-off, why don't they put that in the public? We want to challenge the minority. If there is an intention like that, which you describe as honest, they should come and tell us and give us evidence and save us from all these rumor-mongering, wild goose chains. You see, my concern is that if we are not careful, we'll run down the bank. No financial institution is run with propaganda. It will not succeed. The ranking member, I'm sure if he had knocked the door of the MD to find out answers to these concerns, he would have been provided with the answer. There is no sinister move to sell off the bank. I will support an effort to recapitalize and to sort up its treasury other than a sell-off. And I don't think the government has come to that position of a sell-off yet. So treat it with the contempt it deserves and just throw it overboard. I'm sure Adongo was in one of his moods and he got it all wrong. I think what the minority should do is that the financial sector has its own variabilities. And as such, if you are making commentaries about a bank, you need to be careful and you need to get your facts right. Our colleague, the minority ranking member of finance, we think he got it all wrong. It is never true that the treasury of the NIB bank is not functioning. So the least our colleagues can do is to at least be careful when you are commenting about a bank that is mandated by law.
But will the majority in Parliament support any move to merge ADB and NIB? Frank Anadompreh says NIB is a special bank with a special purpose and must be allowed to stand on its own.
You see, there is no bank that is specifically mandated to support industry. Agri Development Bank, no. GCB, no. But NIB is mandated specific, finito, on industry. And therefore, if we go and we are, stretching hands to Development Bank, it will be undermined. The core mandate will be undermined. And that's my personal belief. It will not help to achieve what we are seeking to achieve.
Well, let's bring in banking consultant Dr. Richmond Ituahini. At least he's been following this particular NIB, ADB issues closely. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So it appears that the majority and the minority agree on one thing, even though there are concerns about falsehood amongst others, that NIB must be allowed to stand on its own. But we know that the NIB has well-documented issues. How then do we move on? How do we resolve this?
Thank you very much. I think if I will start the story, why have they gone to that position? Who started it? How has it? Why have we left it to get to the position of merging and not merging? It's all about the governance system that we put in place in the various banks. The banks are not run like a bank that is supposed to perform its mandate. Unfortunately, NIB's mandate, as the earlier speaker said, is for industry. And let me even put it right. Agric is also for Agric. The original mandate of Agric, if you check it, 1965, it was set to support Agric and agro businesses. But somewhere along the line, 2003, when the government decided to adopt what we call universal banking, they decided to run over those the development banks. So this development bank has not been playing the role as far back as from 2002, 2003 up to today. It's been going on. So I'm not surprised that people are saying that. But originally, as it was set up by the Act, I believe that NIB and ADB should be reclassified to come out from the universal banking, because that is not the core mandate. And I'm not sure when they change it to universal banking, they even revoke the law. So now that we are talking about it, let us make sure that the law which set NIB is upright and also supported. Capital, we have just said Development Bank, DWU. I don't think there was no need for it. All that we should have done our homework with the NIB and AGRI and giving them the mandate to do what it was actually set up to do. But unfortunately, anytime we do these things, we play politics about it. We don't look at the in-depth, what was the reason why Dr. Kwame Nkrumah set it down. So for me, I support the arguments, but we shouldn't, as we're saying, we shouldn't let falsehood to come in and who are maligning people is an issue. Because you see, anything bank goes on banking. It is only maybe in this country where confidence doesn't go down. In other jurisdictions, depositors would have run down the banks. They would have gone for their money. And that would have sent us a big, big signal to the industry. So I believe everybody should tone down. The minister and his team should sit back again and reflect. Can't we do anything about reviving NIB and giving the core mandate which was set up to do it? If we do that, I mean, we're talking about agric. I mean, look at the percent investment in agric in Ghana. Even the agric bank investment in the agric is nothing to write home about. I believe that as a nation which talks about development, we should make sure that these development banks are really, really capitalized and also have a better governance system. I want to stress the governance system. The governance system in Ghanaian banks, sorry to say, including what has been set up now or now, they are not the best you can talk about. The people, I mean, the people set in affairs of the banks are all politicians, and when they go there, they are not professional bankers, neither are they professional accountants. So they go there and they sing the politics voice, and that is it. And by the time we realize, the bank has suffered. So let us begin to think that governance is very, very key in setting up the bank.
Dr. Tiahene, we are grateful for your time, and of course the conversation on reclassification of these banks, I'm sure will just get started. Thank you so much. Let's do some other stories before we go for business, or we'll do business first. Okay, we'll go to George Wiafe with the latest from the world of business. George.
But I'm looking forward to
sure.
this today's episode of Your Delegates, and we are in the Ashanti region. That's where the hotbed of MPP political activity is. We hear from the are you aspiring to be any?
No, anywhere near. No. I mean, politics. No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So you don't have to deal with delegates.
No, I don't think so. Maybe when it comes to
so.
vying for a position at WTO or maybe in Future World Bank, you will still have to deal with delegates. You don't know.
But those delegates you can trust, or
there's still lobbying. I mean, when it comes to
United
Nations General Secretary,
yeah.
There's intense lobbying, even at the under secretary level and all the rest. You have to deal with countries lobbying and all the rest, and you have to fear them, even in the business space.
Oh, I see. Okay, we'll hear from the delegates in Ashanti region when we return. Specifically, we will be in the Chima in Wabija North constituency in the region and hear from them. George, what do you have in the headlines?
Well, Evans, coming up, IMF insists Ghana is not out of the woods yet, despite showing signs of stability when it comes to the economy, and government makes significant progress towards the establishment of new national career for the country. We hear from the Deputy Minister of Transport. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntax Tanks and Pepsodent, Charcoal and Herbal.
Imagine strutting into the most anticipated wedding of the year, only to see 7 other girls wearing your exact same outfit.
You are special and one of a kind, and that's why whether it's voice, data or SMS, you get to enjoy personalized offers tailored to your specific needs with MTN Just For You. Dial *141# or select your options on the My MTN app to redeem your unique Just For You package on Ghana's best mobile network. MTN.
Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302 764 209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
For over 10 years, Old Mutual has been touching lives in Ghana. Whether you're a trader or a student, an entrepreneur or an employer, or nearing your retirement, we have the right financial solutions tailored just for you. Contact Old Mutual on 030-7000-600 or visit our website on oldmutual.com.gh to learn more. And let's realize your financial freedom together. 10 years of greatness, here for a lifetime. Old Mutual, do great things every day.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244-335-168, Kumasi 0505-555-666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough.
I'm afraid. Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrati no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodom pe mo ma na yakono. Eye kwabna. Na mumu hwan so na tumi tasmale me ma yene nyina de. Eye kojo. Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodom pe mo sense o yisu president eba. Aye den aban ne do braye. Bo si echi na mo ho ban na sem ma na ho de ne. Sa ani na kudwo so yisu president chako. Na eno ne de e ma wo se wo ye krejen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you. Ey kojo. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie, you're gonna natural.
FTIJ Trading Katuyatu.
You're welcome back to Business on the Newsnight. Now, the IMF has maintained that the economic challenges facing the country is far from over, despite showing signs of stability. It follows comments by some government officials that the economy has turned the economy following fresh data. But the IMF mission chief, Stefan Rode, says there's still some work to be done.
The situation is improving. It is improving significantly, but a lot of work still has to be done to fully restore macroeconomic stability. We don't want to see 40% inflation. The Central Bank of Ghana does not want to see 40% inflation. Everyone is working very hard to make sure that inflation goes back towards the Central Bank target over time to 8%. But we have to acknowledge that things cannot be resolved from one day to another. It takes time. But we are taking we are very satisfied with the fact that we see the program working. We see that the macroeconomic outcomes based on the data that we see are consistent with an improvement. More needs to be done. The program needs to be, the implementation of the program needs to be strong, not just in the past but also in the future. But if this is indeed the case, we are very confident that we will continue to see an improvement going forward.
Stefan Rode is the mission chief for Ghana. Now, government says it has made some significant progress towards the establishment of a new national carrier for the country. The new airline, which is in partnership between government and a private firm, is currently waiting for the final license to be issued by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority before it can take off. The Deputy Minister of Transport, Alhassan Tempoli, has been given more details on the progress made by the new carrier for it to be operational.
Yes, we have gone into an agreement with a private, group, and we've signed a partnership, shareholders agreement with them. We've incorporated the company. Ghana Civil Aviation has granted them the first level of license. We are now waiting for the company to identify the type of aircraft that they will use, and then final licensing will be awarded when Civil Aviation has gone to inspect those aircrafts. Then we can outdoor. But for now, we are still in the incubation stage, and then at the right time...
Are they timelines next year, next quarter?
Oh, I'm not able to immediately say whether, because there's a amount of due diligence that we have to do on the private company, and they also have to do on us, and also to be able to assess our bilateral air services agreement to see which routes are still available to Ghana. So they have to do all these, calculations to be able to understand the business model that they are going to apply as far as partnering with government is concerned.
Deputy Minister for Transport Alhassan Tampuli. Now, Bank of Ghana is taking some extra measures to help deal with the recent pressure on the Ghana cedi. Central Bank is expected to sell some $20 million to the bulk importers of petroleum products tomorrow. There is more in this Business Desk report.
The auction, according to some analysts, might be coming at a very important time, looking at the current pressure on the Ghana cedi. Demand for dollars by the bulk oil distribution firms to finance import is believed to be one of the reasons that has led to the recent challenges with the cedi. This is because the central bank has been off the market when it comes to meeting the demands of these companies to finance their import. Therefore, this timely action targeted at these importers may go a long way to help slow the rate of depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar over the past 2 weeks. Some analysts that Joy Business have engaged have argued that the outlook of the Ghana cedi is favorable, looking at the expected inflows from the cocoa loan syndication in the coming days, as well as support coming from the IMF and the World Bank at the end of next month. The Bank of Ghana has also argued that there's no need to panic as the necessary measures will be taken to stabilize the local currency. Some have also argued that the pickup in economic activities, especially when it comes to the importation for the Christmas festivities, is one of the reasons for the cedi's challenge.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, team leader in charge of employment and skills development in Africa, GIZ Ghana, John DT, is making a strong case for government to have a clear policy direction to support the informal sector. He spoke to Joy Business at the closing event of Women Entrepreneurs for Africa Project Ghana.
The future lies in supporting SMEs, particularly women. My policy recommendation for government is to do good targeting, to really target those who really need support and have patience for them to grow.
John DT is the team lead in charge of employment and skills development in Africa, that is GIZ Ghana. Some stakeholders within the e-commerce space are calling on businesses to be heavier on promoting financial literacy. According to the sub-regional director for QNet, this is key in empowering young people to acquire more skills for economic growth. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of QNet Fin Green program.
Financial illiteracy is a true plague in our economies. As I said it in my speech a little earlier, 70 to 80% of the economic fabric is in the informal sector, and it is of utmost importance that we reverse those proportions. And by so doing, it is also important that people are financially literate.
Brim Fall is the Sub-Saharan Regional Director for QNet. And if you go to the stock market, MTN today lost a peso to close at 1 Ghana cedi, 44 pesos. If you had invested on the stock market from January to now, your investment have reached almost 30%. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. Back to you, Emefa and Evans.
Thank you very much, George Riafe. Now, there's a number of messages that we'll have to go through. Let's take this one from Senna, from Agonu Poplote. He says, the OSP has the right to petition the Chief Justice, so she must remove the judge. And, okay, so that's his comments on the OSP's petition. We have this one from Nane Kuyamwa Boating in Ablekuma Central. Says, I really do not understand why the special prosecutor wants to change the judge when the judge's ruling did not go in his favor. If that is what every citizen whose matter is determined by a judge and is not happy can petition Chief Justice to remove the judge. Well, Kisi Jabing has really surprised me lately. That's Nana Ikuyamwa Boating's statement or comment there. We have this one from Musa Abatwa, all the way from Aswase in the Ashanti region. It says, even before the OSP started the prosecution, Cecilia Dapa has been cleared of no wrongdoing by the clearing. So I'm not surprised to hear Chief Justice declining OSP's request. Some of your messages. So we'll get into politics now. And this evening,
And indeed, this is your election headquarters. We are counting down to November 4, and Emefa is going to be on the ground from the election headquarters here, but also at the MPP's own headquarters. And last time you were at the EC headquarters as well, so you like headquarters. I mean, that's what you do.
Because I work with the election headquarters.
Exactly. So you just go to where the headquarters is, and you can find it on the ground on the November 4th. But here's the thing, though. As we campaign, the campaigns go on among the various aspirants. One group of individuals are really
most powerful,
and they're really showing that indeed they are the kingmakers.
Of course,
you cannot get to the promised land if you don't go through them. They are the delegates, and as we've been talking about in the last this week, indeed, you have to fear them. It was Sir John who made that phrase very popular. We brought you the first one when we went
to Upper East region.
Well, in the party's stronghold of the Ashanti region, the delegates have been talking to us. We're getting to know who they are, the things that will move them, and what will influence the decision in the Echima in Wabeja North constituency in the Ashanti region ahead of the presidential primary. My colleague Nana Boachi Yadom has been interacting with these delegates.
I will not say fear delegates, fear human beings, because the delegates haven't come from a different planet. The delegates are all human beings. Some are even my relatives. For all you know, you, even the interviewer, you are also a delegate. So I could also be afraid of you.
So come November 4th, the delegates across the country will be going to their various polling stations to elect a flag bearer for the new patriotic party going into the 2024 general elections. But let's get interactive with some of these delegates from the Achuman-Wabeja North constituency. Fear delegates, they say, but is that still the case? Openyi, Sir John say fear delegates, or can imre chemo, edaso ye adwuma.
Yeah, or somebody told me me say omo ambeye wosi ombeye yododododo no and I say your one piece no be eco premises na delegates for nyina dinachi e be koto no na ye be koto no the expect so be nya no ho no o anya sa nti fear delegate ni de e wo ho e ye adwuma e be ye adwuma akofo se Yesu beba.
So nasa omo nyina ba campaign nso.
The aspirants must have this in mind. Those who follow them are even more dangerous. The MP even gets disappointed during parliamentary election. Even if you contest against your children, some will go against you. Pakwesi Indum is a clear example. Delegates are dangerous.
Inti abato de fear delegate de papa say one fasad na 2-3 dia enem hu se bia na wokra wo nsuro nyame enu kwa suro ye kra che bonsam delegate for
ye suro delegates
e che bonsam ye fuck ye shege mafia
and they said the menu aneka no e wo ho sa akosi se ewi ase bese so what I say eti oba.
Yes, fear delegates, just as my brother said. It will be there forever, so aspirants must come with a convincing message that can influence us.
Nipa no ayekasa eno mo ne yekasa. Nti omo ne yekasa no se o kan se me na to akoma so a
the aspirants come with a single message, but everything we will do as delegates is in our mind. So for me, I don't believe it still exists. For me, I believe it exists, but it will continue to be in existence until rapture because the aspirants are plenty.
So these are the opinions of some of these delegates we interacted with here at the Achuman-Wabeja North constituency. For some of them, they do believe that fear delegates still exist. Others think otherwise. But going into the November 4th election, they have sent a clear message to these aspirants. For Joy News, my name is Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom. We are born, we are born, you say Ghana. We are born.
You know, now you ask a child, when you grow up, what do you want to be?
Delegate.
I want to be a delegate. And for the MPP in particular, they have a few more primaries to go. The parliamentary primary, that is in itself is separated into two. You have the primaries in the Orphan constituencies and primaries in constituencies where they have sitting members of parliament. So when you are a delegate in the MPP in this time, you want to change profession?
No, I love my job.
But it's interesting, as we've been hearing, they actually are professionals. On Monday we had some of them.
Things,
an accountant, for example, teachers, and they also, play this very important role in the parties. You are live here. It's your election headquarters. It's Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM.
Now, the most vulnerable segments of the population, children and the elderly, are facing a growing threat from a silent and invisible killer, air pollution. Health experts in the country are sounding the alarm, calling on government and citizens to combat these deadly pollutants. Michael Lashali brings you the latest in our ongoing coverage of the critical issue of air quality in Ghana.
It's not easy. It's a difficult moment. It's challenging breathing, especially at night when you are asleep.
Ruben Alexander has asthma, a life-threatening illness that constricts airways. Now 44 and an accountant with the University of Ghana Medical School in Kolebu, Otu says he was first diagnosed as a child. It was not a big surprise. Otu's mother had fought asthma for years before it finally took her life. Soon after, Otu's doctors told him he too had the disease. From the carbon-fueled engines, not even his nose mask can save him.
Protect myself from the dust in the system, the dust in the weather conditions in around here. It would help me to at least have a clean breath. And especially when I use the tro and stuff, people might come in with all sorts of perfumes in which might not be that best for me.
Air pollution has been associated with several diseases, notably respiratory diseases, acute ones as well as chronic respiratory disorders, lung function disorders, cardiovascular diseases, and even in recent times there are linkages with adverse reproductive health outcomes like miscarriages, low birth with premature deaths, and infertility in males.
You want to watch the full episode of the Clean Air Report, all brought to you by New Narratives. It's across our social media platforms and also on the Joy News channel as well.
Okay. Well, the IGP, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has been speaking today and he's been defending the decision to prevent Democracy Hub from occupying the Jubilee House. Now, he explained that the demonstration in 2014 by Occupy Ghana was only a name but not directed at the Jubilee House and therefore cannot serve as a precedent for accusing the police of suppressing protesters. Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, however, indicated that the protesters were arrested after they attempted to take advantage of the proximity of the demonstration grounds to the Jubilee House. Well, he's been responding to questions on public safety from members of the Trade Union Congress during an engagement.
So how did they occupy the Flagstaff House in 2014 and now they cannot occupy it today? And that is the consistency thing I'm looking at. You may have some information, intel you may not be able to disclose. The reason why you may think that today it cannot. But you must at some level try to explain, because you are telling us that you cannot allow people to do demonstration at the Flagstaff House, but we have a history where people have occupied the Flagstaff House before. And I think that it is important that in doing your work, consistency is important.
And I would like to start by saying that a fundamental thing that came out was the issue of consistency. And the consistency bit came from two fronts. My big brother who spoke first and my brother who also later anchored that point about the fact that 2014 there was an issue of Occupy Flagstaff House, which almost 9 years now. So if you are not careful, 9 years time, if we are not here, then there will be another meeting saying that why are you stopping people for going to Jubilee House? Because 9 years ago, which is today, there was a demonstration called Occupy Jubilee House. So there is one thing having the intention and naming that name, and another thing, it happened at the location that you had it. 2014, nobody occupied the Jubilee House. It was in name. And they did a demonstration, and it was around Professor Madam Emefa Salazar's Park. And some of them made an attempt to run to the Jubilee House, and they were stopped at Afrikiko interchange. We have engagement, and we worked on it. And I think by that time, my brother, Lawyer Kofi Bente, was also even in the group. So we want that clarity to be there.
You know, there have also been allegations that people were brutalized as part of the process. He's been speaking to that too.
Recently, there was some demonstration that they said they want to demonstrate for 3 days or thereabout. We went through a process based on what they want us to do. We served them. They said they still want to demonstrate. Then you saw that the police went there, and then they said, no, what he's doing is unlawful gathering. So they picked about 8 people up, just to discourage even people from showing up the more. So that at the end of the day, we wait for the court to make a determination as to how the demonstration should go. As soon as they were arrested, they went around making all sort of allegations and all sort of noise and said, police has brutalized us, they have done this, I've done that, I've done that. I took it upon myself the following day to meet their leaders, some of them, and told them that if we have respected the process and allowed the court to tell us how we should go about, we won't get to where we have gotten to. But because we have succeeded with all the propaganda and convincing the public that as if we are against you demonstrating, and also the lies about the fact that police has brutalized you, we will let you continue the demonstration, and we will let you finish with all the days that you want to do the demonstration. But we will challenge you to bring any evidence that speaks to the fact that you were brutalized. As I speak, after months of completing that demonstration to today, not a shred of evidence has been brought up to indicate that police have been brutalized. But until I told you this, and you being here, you will have had a mindset based on what they were spilling out there that they were brutalized. It was never so.
IGP Dr. George Ekufu Dampare. And come Tuesday, we're expecting this. And it's the all finals for the National Science and Maths Quiz on Tuesday. But ahead of that, at the outset, we all know that 147 schools ventured into the intellectual arena.
Including a certain school in the Volta region.
Ola Girls. Where did you go? Where was Volta? I can't talk about
But we progressed further than you did.
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Go and check your record.
Where did you exit?
Where did you exit? Go and check your records.
2 blind men fighting over who went out first. Yeah, go on.
Well, we are focusing tonight on girls' school, of course, including Ola Girls. But this time, we are focusing on Wesley Girls, St. Louis. They continue to break boundaries in spite of Ola Girls falling out, amongst others. My colleague Jacqueline Gansmayewa has more in this report.
Once denied their seed, rose from the ashes, ousting 3-time champion St. Peter's in a blaze of determination. Wesley Girls Senior High School's journey, a testament to resilience, led them to the semi-final, eyes fixed on a historic victory, aiming to etch their name as the first all-girls school to clinch the National Science and Maths Quiz title.
If it's God's will for us to get to the finals, to get there, and then if it's His will for us to win, we'll also win.
Their dreams, however, met an obstacle in the form of Achimota.
Wesley Girls High School, thank you for being here as well. You also came all the way from the prelims. Unfortunately, we must say goodbye.
Meanwhile, St. Louis SHS embarked on a meteoric ascent, toppling reigning champions at Digital College and outclassing Kumasi Anglican School.
And as the old Spanish saying goes, "Que sera, sera," what will be, will be.
The school's first ever National Science and Maths Quiz contestant from 1994, now a teacher, Rose Ayisibona, beamed with pride, heralding the immense honor this comeback brought to their legacy.
I'm so excited that at long last we've gotten to this stage. During our time, we got to this stage and were eliminated.
As the anticipation builds and the tension thickens, the destiny of these all-girls schools have remained uncertain, with none qualifying to the finale, leaving the question lingering: which of these 3 remaining schools will emerge victorious in the 30th edition of the National Science and Maths Quiz? For Joy News, Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
And we're getting ready for Monday for the finals of the National Science and Maths Quiz. Is Presec. where we all go for Saturday class. Science classes? Oh, that's where you were also going. You are attending your science
classes when you're on holidays.
Science
classes.
We had a very effective science presenter at St. Thomas Aquinas.
So how's that going for you now, honey? Because you're not in the finals, you're not in the semi-finals. Were you in the quarterfinals?
But Achimota is in the finals as well, and then was also in there.
Okay, so it's Monday.
Yes, Monday.
Mr. Well-equipped science lab.
You like it like that?
Even Lola.
Oh my God.
Better than Mr. Well-equipped science class.
Wow, anyway. Shade. All right. Well, you guys are going, and we're taking over.
Strong and sassy.
So we're continuing. Well, this is the last part of our breast cancer series, and today we're going to spend time with a doctor, a surgeon, Dr. Josephine Mensah, because over the past 4 weeks there have been a lot of questions and concerns.
Should we come?
No, please screen in your houses. Screen in your houses. So that's it. We're concluding our breast cancer awareness month.
Okay, we look forward to it. Stay with Enimwa.